Hello, hello, everyone. It's me again, Max, your loyal four-legged friend, the indispensable travel companion to my beautiful owner, Hana, on every path we take to explore this world. I bet you all haven't forgotten our one human, one dog duo, have you? Hana and Max's journey is still rolling along. Still trotting along. Every new land we set foot on isn't just about breathtaking sights or delicious food that tickles my keen nose. It's also about stories, unexpected encounters, and even little lessons that I, a dog, find myself pondering. And this time, our destination is a place whose name alone makes many hearts flutter. A city of love, of art, of melodious love songs, and of course, of fragrant croissants. Woof! Can you guess where? Exactly. It's Paris, the city of lights in magnificent France. Right from the moment the airplane, which I still jokingly call the giant iron bird, slowly landed, I sensed a very different atmosphere. Something ancient, romantic, yet bustling, seeping into every strand of my fur. And there it was, the symbol I'd only seen in the pictures Hana showed me. The Eiffel Tower. Oh my, it's even taller than the tallest tree in the park near my home. Standing majestically against the sky, proud and inviting. My heart, no, my tail just wouldn't stop wagging with excitement. Our Parisian adventure officially begins. Paris on a spring afternoon was truly pleasant. Hana and I had just stepped out of a cozy little bakery, where I got to nibble on some buttery croissant crumbs. Oh my, they were divine. We were strolling along the Saint-Antoine Boulevard when I suddenly stopped in my tracks. There, by the roadside, beneath a cold storefront window of a fashion shop under renovation, an old man lay curled up on the tiled ground. He had nothing but a torn blanket, a rusty shopping cart piled high with plastic bags and empty cans. His hair was matted, clothes stained, and his blackened hands clutched a tattered stuffed bear. Perhaps the only thing left that reminded him of something warm and familiar. People passed by, not one glance in his direction. Some quickened their pace, frowning as if he were something filthy, unworthy of notice. I overheard a woman whisper to her friend as they walked past, "Ugh, another one of those ruining Paris's image." And I, a dog, felt something tighten inside my chest. Not from the cold, but from a strange heaviness, a sadness I couldn't quite name. My owner Hana also paused. She said nothing. Her eyes lingered on the old man, not with pity, not with curiosity, but with a silent stillness, like she was listening to something no one else could hear. She reached into her paper bag and pulled out a fresh croissant. Without hesitation, she walked over, leaned down, and gently handed it to the man as if offering something sacred. "Monsieur, I wish you a warm day," she said softly. The man slowly looked up. His eyes, faded, weary, held a glimmer of something shifting. His hand trembled as he took the bread, then stared at Hana for a long moment, and smiled. It wasn't a big smile, not enough to light up his whole face, but for me, a small dog, it was enough to know. He felt seen. He felt human. I sat beside my owner Hana, not barking, just watching in silence. And right then, Paris became deeper in my heart. Not just dazzling, but truly human. That night, curled up beside Hana in our warm homestay, the soft golden light spilling across wooden floors and thick blankets, I couldn't stop thinking about that face, the old man's face, with a small, fragile smile that stayed in my memory. Paris is beautiful, yes, but like people, it has cracks, quiet corners, and places that need a little healing. The next morning, soft golden light spilled through the window of our cozy homestay, gently waking me. I blinked, stretched, and glanced over at Hana, still sleeping peacefully, her tousled hair resting lightly on the pillow. The room was quiet, except for the distant hum of the city waking up outside. We had breakfast in calm silence, not out of sadness, but in the kind of quiet that follows a night of deep reflection. I could tell Hana was still thinking about the old man. Before we left, she slipped a few fresh croissants into a paper bag without saying a word. But I understood. Her heart was still open, still carrying yesterday with her. Minutes later, we stepped out onto the sunlit Paris street, the chill of morning softened by the warmth of spring air. My paws padded eagerly on the cobblestones as scents danced around me. Fresh bread, blooming flowers, and something sweet. Crepes? And then we arrived. The Eiffel Tower, towering, majestic, just like the pictures Hana used to show me. The Eiffel Tower, towering, majestic, just like the pictures Hana used to show me. Steel beams intertwined into a colossal figure, as if holding up the entire Parisian sky. People bustled about, laughter echoing, cameras clicking, and soft French music drifting from a nearby street corner. The smell of warm crepes filled the air, teasing my very sensitive nose. I was wagging my tail in pure joy. Then, suddenly, I heard something else. Not a grown-up's voice, not the honk of a car, not the melody of music. It was crying, faint, hoarse but unmistakable. I froze. My ears perked up. Just beneath one of the tower's huge iron pillars, half hidden behind the rushing crowd, I spotted an old baby stroller, grayish in color, stained like it had been left there for quite a while. And inside, a baby, barely a year old. His skin was pale, cheeks flushed from the wind. He wore a red hoodie, the hood slipping off his tiny head, unable to shield his teary, swollen eyes. Two tiny hands clenched the stroller strap as if it were the only thing he could hold on to. He wasn't crying out loud anymore, just faint hiccups, exhausted, like he had been crying for so long his little voice gave out. No adult was around. People kept walking by. No one stopped. No one noticed. I let out a soft bark, just one, but enough. Hana turned to look at me. "What is it, Max?" she asked, but I was already moving toward the sound. Hana followed my gaze, and then she froze too. "Oh my God! A baby?" she whispered, and rushed forward. I trotted beside her, my paws light, but my heart heavy. Hana knelt, gently leaning over the stroller. The baby blinked, startled, then reached out with his tiny arms toward Hana. No words were needed. That baby was scared, and he needed help. Hana carefully lifted him up, holding him close, her eyes full of concern. I stood next to them, watching closely. A grown woman and a lost baby had just connected, in a moment that words couldn't describe. Then I heard it. His stomach growled softly. He was hungry and shivering. We looked around. Nobody was searching. No shouts of a mother calling her child's name. No one running, panicked. Just the crowd moving on. A tourist passing by glanced over and muttered in English, slightly worried. "Maybe abandoned. Or maybe the mom got lost." Abandoned? Left behind? I don't understand all the complicated things humans go through, but I know this. No child, no matter how small, should ever be left behind. Hana took a deep breath and said, "Max, we have to find this baby's mother. We can't leave him like this." I nodded. No hesitation. Our mission to reunite the baby with his mother began. We searched every corner around the Eiffel Tower, ticket booths, a small police post nearby, cafes, even the public restrooms. Hana held the baby tightly, asking everyone. I sniffed every path, every dropped scarf, every unfamiliar footprint. The baby didn't cry anymore. He lay peacefully in Hana's arms, his wide eyes watching the world in silence. But I saw it. Deep inside those eyes was a plea. "Please, don't leave me alone again." And I, Max, a little dog in a big city, made a silent promise. He will never be alone again. After running around the base of the Eiffel Tower for what felt like forever, we finally found a nearby tourist police station. Hana held the baby in her arms. I walked beside her, my eyes never leaving the little one. Everyone inside the station looked at us with surprise and concern. A kind-looking female officer gently took the baby from Hana's arms and began checking him over. Thankfully, he was just cold and hungry, no signs of injury. Once Hana explained everything clearly, the officers spoke softly among themselves. Then, an older man in uniform stepped forward, his face serious but gentle. He spoke in French, and Hana translated for me. At the moment, we have no information about the child's family. No one has reported a missing baby, and no surveillance footage shows who left him behind. We need more time to investigate. Hana nodded, her face tense. So, where will the baby stay in the meantime? The officer looked at her for a long moment before replying, "If you're willing, you can care for him temporarily. Of course, we'll stay in touch and update you daily. But if no one comes forward within 3 days, we'll have to take him to the city's orphanage." I didn't fully understand what orphanage meant, but when Hana heard that word, her face dimmed. She looked down at me. I lowered my ears and sat quietly by her leg, eyes still fixed on that tiny soul nestled in her arms. Then she nodded firmly, no hesitation. And just like that, from a stylish tourist, Hana became a temporary mom to a baby who couldn't talk, couldn't walk, and didn't even know the name of the person cradling him. That day, Hana, the baby, and I spent almost the entire day at the police station. My owner Hana barely moved from the chair in the waiting room. The baby dozed off in her arms, and I curled up under her seat, eyes fixed on the door, hoping someone would come through, run up, pick up the baby and cry out in relief, "That's my child!" But all morning and into the afternoon, there was only the sound of ringing phones, the tapping of keyboards, and a few sympathetic looks from the police officers. No one came to claim the child. An older police officer gently patted Hana on the shoulder. "We're still checking surveillance footage from the streets around the Eiffel Tower. But as of now, no leads. It looks like the baby will have to stay with you for another night." Hana nodded and smiled faintly, but I could sense she was disheartened. By dusk, we left the station, strolling slowly under the warm glow of the streetlights. The Parisian breeze was gentle, and the smell of freshly baked bread wafted from a nearby bakery. Despite my empty stomach, I didn't feel hungry. Hana suddenly turned into a small convenience store on the corner. I perked up and followed her. Surely she'd buy something tasty for me, too. She pushed the stroller gently while scanning the aisles, looking a bit overwhelmed. One hand on the cart, the other reaching for baby formula, eyes struggling to read the French labels. I saw her approach a staff member organizing the shelves. "Excuse me, I'm looking for baby formula and diapers? For a 1-year-old? The store clerk smiled and guided Hana to the baby products section. She explained with a mix of French and broken English, handing over items for Hana to examine. Honestly, Hana looked like a nervous young mom shopping for her baby for the first time. I looked up. Hana's face was flushed. Yep, she was definitely embarrassed. Then, as if remembering my loyal presence, she turned around and grabbed a pack of sausages and a small bag of dog treats. Tail-wagging frenzy. Activated. She also picked up some instant noodles, juice, and a few snacks for herself. As she checked out, the clerk glanced at the sleeping baby and said in English, "Your son is adorable, so calm and sweet." Hana smiled, opened her mouth as if to explain, then stopped. She just nodded and replied, "Merci. Thank you." I wanted to bark. That's not her baby, just temporary. But hey, I'm a dog. All I could do was wag my tail. We left the store carrying a hefty bag, a sleeping child, and, somehow, hearts that felt a little fuller. On the way back to the homestay, I walked right next to Hana, watching the golden light of the city stretch over the cobbled streets. Paris was still dazzling, still majestic, but maybe the most beautiful parts weren't at the Eiffel Tower. They were in small moments like this. That evening, surprisingly, everything was so calm. The baby, though only a year old, was incredibly well behaved. He only cried a little when he was hungry or needed a diaper change. The rest of the time he just slept, peacefully. His lips slightly puckered, tiny fists curled up, sometimes smiling in his dreams like he was remembering something warm. I lay beside Hana, watching the little one sleeping soundly in the small crib the kind homestay owner lent us. The soft yellow light of the bedside lamp cast gentle shadows across the walls, and the ticking of the clock made the room feel even more still. Hana whispered, "Thank you for helping me today, Max." I gently nuzzled her hand. We had made it through a long, uncertain day, but in the end, everyone was safe. The next morning, Paris welcomed us with soft sunshine, clear skies, and the smell of toasted bread wafting from cozy cafes. Hana wore her crossbody bag, I was on the leash, and the baby, still snoozing, was tucked comfortably in the stroller. We walked slowly down the cobbled streets, stopping by flower stands, bakeries, and corner cafes. Hana would gently show the baby's photo from her phone and ask, "Bonjour, have you seen this baby before? Do you recognize him?" The flower vendor shook her head. A waiter at a small cafe did the same. Even an old man sitting on a bench with a newspaper squinted, stared at the baby for a moment, and then shook his head too. And me, I watched their eyes. I saw confusion, sympathy, and a little sadness. No one recognized him. We kept walking, our hope tucked inside every step. But deep in my heart, I began to sense this journey might be longer than we thought. That's just how Paris is. Even though Hana and I were worried about the baby, we couldn't help but be enchanted by the vibrance and rhythm of this city. After asking the flower vendor, the cafe waiter, and even a street artist sketching portraits on the sidewalk, each shaking their head, we kept walking. Not because we were giving up, but because each new face meant new hope. And maybe, just maybe, a clue. We made our way to the Champ de Mars, a stretch of lush green lawn right beneath the Eiffel Tower. The baby was still sound asleep in the stroller. Hana spread out a small cloth and sat down to rest. I, however, just couldn't sit still. There was too much excitement in the air. Groups of tourists were laughing, snapping pictures with the Eiffel Tower, some sitting on the grass, munching on baguettes and cheese, soaking up the golden sunlight that seemed to melt into their hair. I even saw a group of Korean teens recording a TikTok, dancing wildly and laughing out loud. Humans? Dance funny? But wow, it looked like so much fun. Not far from us, a street performer played the violin, his melody dancing across the open sky. Next to him, another artist beat rhythmically on plastic buckets like drums. Surprisingly in sync, their performance drew a growing crowd. I couldn't help but wag my tail to the beat. A little kid ran up, dropped a coin into the performer's cap, and smiled wide as he received a cheerful, "Merci." Hana gently stroked my head. Paris really knows how to make people feel something, right, Max? I let out a soft grunt of agreement, eyes still fixed on the street show captivating the small crowd. Still, we didn't forget our mission. Hana stood up again, asking small groups of travelers resting nearby. An Italian group shook their heads. A family from the Middle East also didn't recognize the baby, but everyone looked at the little one with kind eyes. One lady even tried to offer candy. Hana politely declined, but smiled at the gesture. As the afternoon wore on and the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows through the trees and turning the cobblestones gold, I sprawled out, panting from a full day of walking. Hana was clearly tired too, but she didn't complain. Her eyes remained on the baby, who had just woken up, tiny dimples showing as he reached out for falling leaves spinning in the soft breeze. Today, Paris was more than just a destination. It felt like a living painting full of people, music, kindness, and something beyond words. The next morning, Paris was still wrapped in a blanket of soft mist. I was curled up beside Hana's feet, listening to her gentle breathing as she slept peacefully. Outside, the sky hadn't even begun to glow. The silence was comforting. Ring, ring. Suddenly the phone rang, cutting through the quiet. Hana stirred, groaning softly, and reached for her phone with sleepy fingers. But the moment she glanced at the screen, Police Nationale, her eyes snapped wide open. I lifted my head too, sensing the shift in the air. Hello? Yes, this is Hana speaking. I stayed close, watching as her expression turned from confusion to surprise, then to something I couldn't quite explain, maybe relief, maybe hope. She ended the call and looked down at me, her eyes gleaming softly. Max, they found the baby's mother. So off we went again. Me, Hana, and the baby. This time, not for sightseeing or croissants, but back to the police station for a meeting far more important than any tourist attraction. When we arrived, a young woman was already there. She sat quietly in the corner of the room, wrapped in a thin coat. Her face looked pale, like she hadn't eaten or slept well for days. Her hands were clutched tightly in her lap, trembling just a little. The moment she saw the baby, her whole body tensed. She stood up slowly, hesitated, and took a shaky step forward, but didn't rush over. She stood still, her eyes filling with tears, as if she didn't believe she deserved to touch her own child. Hana gently pushed the stroller toward her. The baby let out a soft "ah," recognizing the familiar scent, and reached up with his tiny hands. The woman, she dropped to her knees and embraced her baby. And then she cried. Not just a few tears, but the kind that seemed to carry every sleepless night, every regret, every ounce of guilt. My name is Camille, she choked out. I'm his mother. I'm so sorry. Everyone fell silent. The baby gurgled and giggled in her arms, innocent and content. Camille began to speak, her voice shaking. She lived in a poor neighborhood on the outskirts of Paris. The baby's father was a young man who left as soon as she told him she was pregnant. Her own family was strict and barely supportive. She had carried and delivered the baby all on her own. In a moment of despair, jobless, hungry, hopeless, Camille thought she was doing what was best. She left the baby behind, hoping someone better could give him a future. But the moment I walked away, I felt my heart break, she said. I couldn't live with what I'd done. I came back to find him, but he was gone. That's when I went to the police. I sat beside Hana, watching the scene unfold. I didn't understand every word, but I felt it. The love, the regret, the rawness of a young mother's journey back to her child. Paris, the city of love. It was true. But today that love wasn't in roses or kisses under the Eiffel Tower. It was in a desperate hug, in a tearful apology, in a baby's giggle that forgave everything. So it turns out, the baby's name is Lucas, a gentle, tender name, just like the innocent smile he gave us over the past few days. When Camille, Lucas's mother, called out his name, her eyes glimmered with a soft warmth, as if she'd just found a lost part of her soul in this grand city of lights. After some heartfelt conversation at the police station, Camille shyly invited Hana and me to her home for a simple meal. She called it a thank you dinner. Nothing fancy, just a sincere gesture from a single mother who wanted to show her gratitude to the people who had cared for her child with no hesitation. I looked up at Hana. She nodded and smiled in that gentle way she always does. And so, the three of us, Hana, Lucas, and I, followed Camille through narrow alleys of a very different Paris. No glowing lights, no soft music in the background, no smell of fresh croissants in the air, just cracked walls, worn-out stairways, and the faint whisper of wind brushing past rooftops that had seen better days. We finally stopped in front of a small attic room. Camille gently carried Lucas up the stairs and pushed open an old wooden door. And I was stunned. Not by anything terrifying, but because I was looking at real life, bare and unfiltered. The whole apartment could barely fit a bed. A corner of the ceiling was broken. Through the hole, You could literally see the sky and drifting clouds. The walls were peeling, the floor covered in chipped tiles, and the only furniture was a thin mattress on the ground. A few plastic bowls, a tiny electric stove, and a torn stuffed bear lying quietly in the corner. Camille looked nervous as Hana took in the room. She mumbled an apology. "Sorry, it's not much," and rushed into the kitchenette to cook some rice, boil a few vegetables, and scramble a couple of eggs. Hana stood still for a moment, her eyes drifting to Lucas, who was giggling and playing with a pot lid on the floor. Then, Hana got up. Without saying a word, she took out her phone, typed quickly, and made a call. I didn't know what she was up to, but there was something brighter in her eyes when she returned. 15 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. "Your rotisserie chicken delivery," the delivery man called. Hana rushed to open the door. I peeked into the bag and was hit by the most glorious aroma: roast chicken, steamed seafood, hot soup, and even some dessert. Everything came from the diner near our homestay, the one Hana always ordered from. "Tonight," Hana said, placing everything down, "we'll have a little family feast." Camille froze. She hadn't expected this at all. She stuttered, I can't accept this." "It's okay," Hana smiled. "Tonight I just want to eat with Lucas. With you. And Max, of course." We all sat down together. The soft yellow light warmed the room. Camille's face, once drawn and tired, now looked alive. Lucas sat on her lap, nibbling happily and babbling sweet nonsense. And me? I was in heaven. Hana peeled me a sausage, and I swear it was so good I almost cried. That night, I curled up by Hana's feet with a full belly and a full heart. Paris may be the city of lights, of fashion, of wine. But to me, a dog named Max, Paris is also a place where I witnessed human kindness, gentle gratitude, and hope that can be served on a simple dinner table. After the simple yet warm dinner at Camille's place, Hana and I returned to our homestay. That night, Paris seemed to sparkle a little brighter. Maybe not because of the lights, but because my heart felt so light. Little Lucas had fallen asleep peacefully in his mother's arms. Camille waved goodbye with a gentle, genuine smile, something we hadn't seen from her just a few days ago. That night, while I curled up on the rug, slowly drifting into sleep, Hana didn't rest. I watched her sit on the bed, the pale glow of her laptop reflecting in her focused eyes. She was browsing the web, typing, searching, clicking, over and over. She looked serious, determined. I couldn't make out exactly what she was planning, but I knew one thing: she had a mission. The next morning, just as the sun peeked over the rooftops of Paris, Hana took me out much earlier than usual. We didn't stop at our favorite cafe or grab a quick breakfast. She walked with purpose, her steps firm, her mind somewhere else. And then it hit me. She was looking for a new place to live, but not for us. Hana was looking for a home for Camille and little Lucas. We visited several places that morning. Some were too small, others far too expensive. Some had steep stairs not safe for a toddler, and others were just not welcoming. Hana wrote down addresses, asked detailed questions, compared notes. She wasn't going to settle. Finally, close to noon, just as my paws were getting sore and my belly was growling, Hana stopped in front of a modest little house tucked away on a quiet street. Hanging on the porch was a basket of dried flowers and a wooden sign that read, "Bienvenue." Welcome. It was the home of an elderly French couple, gentle eyes, silver hair, and warm smiles. When Hana shared Camille's story, a young single mother trying to rebuild her life for her baby, they listened in silence. Then the old man spoke softly. "The upstairs room has been empty for years. Our children have all moved abroad. If she needs a place, we'd be happy to offer it, for a modest rent, as long as she's a good soul." The old woman added, her voice warm but tinged with emotion, "Actually, there's also a flower shop. just 100 meters down the road. It's where my husband and I met, many years ago. They exchanged a nostalgic glance. I could almost feel the weight of their shared memories. I used to run the shop, she smiled. And well, he came by every day, pretending to buy flowers for his mother or friends, just so he could talk to me. I didn't know a daisy from a dahlia, the old man chuckled. But I picked the right flower in the end. My wife. We all laughed. Even I let out a joyful bark. But then the mood softened. We're too old now, she continued. Can't keep the shop going. We were planning to shut it down by the end of the month. Unless Camille would like to give it a try. If she has a love for flowers, we'll help her. Hana grasped their hands gratefully, tears glimmering in her eyes. I wagged my tail with all my might. A cozy room, a charming flower shop full of history. It was as if fate had gently placed the perfect opportunity before us. We left the house under the soft morning light, carrying with us a new hope, one that smelled faintly of roses, daisies, and fresh beginnings. After speaking with the kind elderly couple, Hana and I hurried back toward Camille's temporary apartment. My paws tapped lightly beside her boots as we walked with a certain excitement, an energy in Hana's step that told me she had good news to share. When we arrived, Camille was holding little Lucas in her arms, gently swaying him to sleep. She looked up, surprised to see us back so soon. Without much delay, Hana smiled and said, Camille, I found someone who wants to help you. A kind elderly couple is willing to offer you and Lucas a place to stay. For free. For the first year. Not only that, they're offering you the chance to use their flower shop. It's only a few steps from their house. Camille gasped. For free? But why would they do that for me? She looked overwhelmed, her voice trembling. I could sense a storm of emotions swirling inside her. What Camille didn't know, and what Hana didn't tell her, was the truth behind it all. Yes, the old couple had offered to waive the rent and help with the flower shop out of kindness, but Hana had quietly insisted on paying them up front for the entire first year. She handed them the money in private with one simple request. Please don't mention this to Camille. Let her feel this is purely a blessing from strangers. I don't want her to feel like she owes anyone anything. That's Hana for you. Always thoughtful, always giving without asking for anything in return. Later that afternoon, we walked together, Hana, Camille, little Lucas in the stroller, and me, to the cozy home of the elderly couple. There the two women sat with warm tea and heartfelt words, discussing Camille's future at the flower shop. The old woman even offered to teach Camille how to care for the flowers and arrange them just right. By the end of the day, it was all settled. Camille had a new home, a new job, and a chance to begin again. Camille broke down in tears, the kind of tears that come not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. I'll never forget this, she whispered, wiping her cheeks, her voice shaky. What you've done for me and Lucas. It's more than I could have ever hoped for. She looked into Hana's eyes, then at me, and smiled through her tears. Hana, would you be Lucas's godmother? In name and in heart. So when he grows up, he'll know that on the day he was nearly lost, there was someone who gave us both a second chance. That he was born again, in a way. Hana was stunned for a moment. Then slowly she nodded, her own eyes misty. I wagged my tail furiously and barked softly. I didn't fully understand human rituals like godmother, but I knew this was something sacred, something deeply kind. And just like that, something beautiful was born. Not just a fresh start for Camille and Lucas, but a bond, a family, born not by blood, but by compassion. A few days later, it was time for Hana and me to leave the magnificent city of Paris. The airport buzzed with travelers coming and going, the sound of rolling suitcases and boarding calls echoing through the halls. I sat by Hana's feet as we waited near our gate, watching people pass by, wondering what stories they were living. Then, From across the terminal, I spotted her. Camille, with little Lucas in her arms, walking toward us with a warm smile. Her hair was tied back in a simple bun, and her eyes shimmered with emotion. She came to say goodbye. "I had to come," she said to Hana. "I couldn't let you leave without seeing you again. Thank you for everything." Hana smiled, her voice soft. "You don't have to thank me. Just live well, Camille. Make that flower shop bloom again. And take care of Lucas." Camille kissed her baby on the forehead, then gently leaned down to let Lucas give me a tiny pat. I gave him a small lick in return, my own way of saying goodbye. We hugged. Well, they hugged. I wagged my tail like crazy. The boarding announcement echoed over the loudspeaker. It was time. As we headed toward the gate, I looked back one last time. Camille waved, holding Lucas close. Her figure grew smaller as we moved away, but something in my heart told me this wasn't goodbye forever. Just until next time. And now, as I lie curled beneath Hana's airplane seat, I wonder, where will we go next? What new places will we explore? Whose lives will we cross paths with? The world is big. Adventure is calling. And this girl and her dog duo? We're just getting started. Woof! See you in the next chapter, my friends.